Shalawama, Shalawama. I am Dr. Yasapa. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Astrotheology. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome to Astrotheology. Astrotheology. All right, all right. This is, can you believe it? This is video number 41. Video number 41 of our Astrotheology series. We're going to get started. Let's give it a few minutes just to let other people come in, and we're going to get started. So y'all make sure y'all like and share the video. Also, make sure you support 101 Ancient Ibaryath. This is your heritage. This is the ancient Ibaryath language that Moses and our ancestors spoke and wrote. This is what the Hebrew, so-called Hebrew scriptures were written in, ancient Ibaryath, all right? This is in the family of languages of the Canaanite or the Phoenician Canaanites, right? The Canaanite Phoenicians. So welcome to our Yasharala family and the Moors, Yasharala Moors. All right, we went through this a million times. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, go back and watch our videos. The title is something like the Moors or Yasharala Moors are the law and the gods on earth. Go back and check the video catalog and you will get up to speed. You will learn. All right, so welcome, House of Yasharala Moors. Welcome to all of the Moors from the other nations, from the other family of nations. Welcome, welcome. Like and share this video, like and share the video. But again, be sure that you subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath. This is our heritage, our language. You will learn the essentials. You will learn the essentials that you need to know regarding language, linguistics, etymology, grammar, parts of speech, Ibaryath word studies, all of the things that give you power and that lead to you having the skills to become competent. In other words, you must know how to read. You must know how to read. That means you must have good reading comprehension skills. Okay? Amongst a few other things, but that is the beginning. Good reading comprehension skills that will lead you toward becoming competent. Competent in whatever you want to become competent in, right? But in this case, we're dealing with nationality. We're dealing with understanding what our records say in the original language. And if you are not competent, you don't have these skills, you are going to be subject to those people who are teaching you. And as a reminder, what this whole video presentation is all about, it is to demonstrate to you, the viewer, the scholar in the audience, that linguistics matter, that etymology matters. It matters. And for those who are incompetent, you become the prey. You are the stake on the table to your pastor, to your reverend, to your rabbi, to your Moshe, to your Moreh. That's right. That's right. He, she is feeding off of you because you are incompetent. You're incompetent, regardless of all the doctrine that you study. If you come to our Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time live online course, you will be exposed to and see with your own eyes that what's written in English is often deceptive intentionally. You understand what I'm saying to you? Let's take a look at Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. We'll look at the Amplified Bible version. We're at the We are at the Bible Hub. This is Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. I cannot make you all take this seriously. I can only present you with the information, the evidence, and the facts, but it's up to you to take action. Now, whatever there is that may be keeping you on the fence regarding subscribing to 101 Ancient Ibaryath course, which is a streaming course. You can do it from anywhere 24/7, 365 days a year. If you have not subscribed, there's a reason why. If you have not come to our Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time course that's live online, you don't have to pay a penny. If for whatever reason you have not shown up, that's on you. And whatever hardships, punishments, curses, penalties you have to live with and your children have to live with is on you, because you refuse to start your pathway onto competency. All right, now, why am I saying this? Because we were warned in advance at Jeremiah 8:8, Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. We're in the Bible Hub, reading out of the Amplified Bible version, but you can read any of these. We're only looking at this one because the English is more easy to understand. So I will read it. And think about you, your man, your woman, husband, wife, your son, your daughter, or your grandchildren, your friends, whoever. Think about this. How can you say we are wise and the law or the instructions or the commandments of the Most High is with us? How can you say that? Right? That means that you can't say it, right? This is what the author is saying. How can you say that? And we are learned in its language and teachings. What language? It's not biblical Hebrew. It is not modern Hebrew. The author is asking, how can you say we are applying the Most High's instructions, laws, commandments properly when we don't even understand, or we don't even know, depending on where you're at, what his language is? Some of y'all still out here teaching modern Hebrew and biblical Hebrew. The teachings are the commandments. Okay, now, when did Jeremiah live? Jeremiah lived, he was a young man when Babylonian captivity began to happen. So already these things are happening. Okay, so now let's continue. Again, Jeremiah says, chapter 8, verse 8, how can you say we are wise and the law of the Most High is with us, and that we are learned in its language and teachings? So Jeremiah is saying that it is not true that we are wise. Jeremiah is saying that we are ignorant. We are not applying the instructions properly, or we don't even know what the instructions are. Let's continue. And the answer to that, if you go back and start from verse 1, you'll know exactly what Jeremiah is talking about to answer the issues that I just raised. How can you say we are wise? The law of the Most High is with us, and we are learned in its language and teachings. Jeremiah is saying you cannot truthfully say that we know how to properly apply the Most High's instructions. And we don't know the language, and we don't know his teachings. We don't know the commandments. This is what he's saying. Next, behold, the truth is that the lying pen of the scribes, that's your ancestors and mine, has made the law into a lie. Has made the law into a lie. So here again, we correlate or put this in the context with the preceding sentence. How can you say we are wise? How can you say we are applying the knowledge properly? And the law of the Most High is with us. Y'all understand that? How can you say it? Okay, you cannot say it because the scribes wrote lies. This is what Jeremiah is saying. Understand, okay? Next, Jeremiah says, the lying pen of the scribes have made the law into a lie, a mere code of ceremonial observances. So what is a code of ceremonial observances? By definition, it's a religion. Okay, so the scribes made the Most High's law, his instructions, his commandments into religion. Into religion. The way out of something is the same way you got in. The way out of something is the same way you got in, which is through what? Ignorance of Ibaryath, which led to ignorance of the Most High's laws, commandments, instructions. In other words, incompetency, being incompetent, having low to no reading comprehension, not understanding the pictographs, the Ibaryath pictographs, not understanding the grammar rules, not knowing the grammar rules, not knowing the pictographs, not knowing the instructions, not understanding whatever instructions you do know, not knowing what should be there and what was inserted. This is the cause of your mental and physical enslavement. That's why you are bound to mortgages and getting shot in the street, no matter what landmass you are on, House of Yasharallah. So you must put in the effort, the time, and the attention to develop your reading comprehension skills and learn linguistics and be able to interpret, translate, and render these documents on your own. This is what the whole purpose of Zion Law School is. I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. This is the whole purpose of my work, is to educate you so that you will become competent and able to translate these documents on your own and not be made a stake on the table anymore of your Rabbi Moshe, general, captain, pastor, rabbi, so on and so forth. All right, so you owe it to yourself to subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath. It's only $1. You try it out for 24 hours. I know you're going to keep it for years. I know it. And if you don't, something's wrong. Something wrong with you. Okay? And you need to look inside. There's no doctrine in here. There's no religion. Okay? I'm not benefiting by only asking $10 a month for a subscription. Okay? Because guess what? There are fees that need to be paid too. So it's not even $10 per month, right? So you're not making me rich, okay, by subscribing. So if that's some of you, that might be the reason that you're on the fence. For others of you, it might be something else. Maybe you have to sacrifice the alcohol or cigarettes or candy or chewing gum that you're spending. And that will give you $10 per month, okay? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe for some of you, it's just a matter of discipline, okay? Taking the time to do it. If that's the case, get a subscription for yourself and hold it, and get subscriptions for everybody you know. All right, now you can cancel this at any time. All right, you're also gonna pick up 225 vocabulary words, and all of you should come to the free class, the free live online class. You get 2 classes for free before you have to make a decision. 506, the Curses course, every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The links are in the description area of this video. That's for the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course and for the Saturday 10 a.m. course. All right. Now, y'all see, I reduced the price of this book. It was $39. Now it's only $24. All right. So it's up to y'all to act. The 911 Ibaryath Rescue book, this has all the pictographs and so on and so forth in it, okay? You can use this along with the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. So don't sit on the fence. Go ahead, take the initiative to help yourself and your family. Order the International Edition, 911 Ibaryath Rescue International Edition. Order this on Amazon.com. Don't order this one on zionlawschool.org. You can if you want, but it's better if you order it on Amazon.com. Now, all of our other books, order those. All of our other books, go ahead and order those on books on zionlawschool.org. Okay, y'all? Order those on zionlawschool.org. Now, let me show y'all something before we get started, okay? Let me show you this before we get started. All right, so this is the YouTube video that y'all watching right now. So scroll down, like and share the video, please. Let me show y'all where to get the links at and how to get access to our other publications. All right, so here's the link for the 101 Ancient Ibaryath class. This is in the description area. Here's the link for the 506 The Curses course, which is every Saturday at not 9 a.m., it's 10 p.m., y'all. We changed the time. It's 10 p.m. Now, here, if you scroll down further, here is our recommended book list. So we have 7 books on here. If you want to support us or if you just want to learn more, you can click on any of these links, okay? These are all Zion Law School books, published books. So y'all go ahead and order these now. If you want to support us, you can do so by any of the ways we just discussed, or you can send a one-time or recurring payment or donation to our PayPal. So there's a lot of ways you can support us, okay? Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pull up the document so we can begin. All right, so y'all give me 1 second, please. Let's pull it up. Whew, that was a lot. All right, let's pull it up and we'll get to the document. Give me 1 second, let me get it loaded. All right, let me get the document loaded and we will get going. I need to take a break, y'all, from all of that talking. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me find the document. All right, so where is it? Whew. Okay, we are on page 223. The chapter is the cup of salvation. So the cup of salvation. All right, so we know that because it's the cup of salvation, it has to do with the Last Supper. Okay, different religious organizations call it different things, but a lot of them call it the Last Supper. All right, there we are. So I got the document up. Y'all like and share the video, please. Let everybody know that we are live and about to do this presentation. All right, let everyone know that we are live and we're about to do this presentation. And also, sorry that I was not here yesterday. There's so many crazy things that happened that caused me to miss things that are out of my control. It caused me to miss the last day or two. So I do apologize for that, you know, but some things I cannot control. Let me get this right. Let me check to make sure our stream is okay before I start, y'all. All right, so just some reminders. Be active in the chat. Someone told me that the comments were not being shown. I checked the settings and the comments should be shown because the settings are for them to be shown, but I don't know what's going on. But I'll fix it. If it doesn't show up this time, I'll figure a way out to I'll keep trying to fix it. But your comments are very, very important because other people are going to come in and watch this video. I do not know everything. That's to begin with. Secondly, there may be a word that's in the document that you don't know the meaning of, or I don't know the meaning of. I need someone to look that word up and copy paste the definition, the word and its definition into the chat so that when other people come in and watch the video, the definition, that word and its meaning is there. Most people will not look up words, okay? So the whole point of this is to educate. That's the whole point of the video. So if y'all can help me out with that, I would appreciate it. Second point that I need for people, if there is a book that's cited, someone please take the initiative and Google search it and put the link in the comment section for those who want to know more. They can just click on that link. Okay, it's already there. So some of you are very good at that, and it's very easy for you because you've been doing it. You have the skills, you know where to go, how to do it. So if you can do that for me, the whole thing again is about educating our people. So let's work together. Let's make this a powerful presentation. I'm going to do the best I can in this moment right now to do that. And I'm hoping that you all will do your best in being supportive, okay? Being in not only a learning mode, but a supportive mode so that when we come across citations, when we come across definitions, y'all will put them in the chat so that when other people come, they can easily have access to it. All right, so here we go. Let's begin. This is the Devil's Pulpit. This is presentation number 41. Presentation number 41, page 223. This sermon was given by the Reverend Robert Taylor on April 3rd, 1831. April 3rd, 1831. So, as y'all who have been here with me from the start, y'all already know that this is a difficult read because the English is not the same type of English that we're using today. Some words are spelled differently. Some things that he talks about were probably common then. They're not common now. So we need to look them up, right? We need to look this stuff up. And there's a lot of Latin or Greek. I don't speak Greek. So when we come across the Greek, I'll say, well, here's the Greek word, or here's the verse in Greek or something like that for the recording. Okay, for the recording. So what's my value proposition? The value that I'm adding, and the reason you should continue watching this video is because you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of education that I invested in myself so that I can read and understand the information that the author has written here. But there are times when I have to read things 2, 3, and 4 times, okay? But I get it. I always get it. I've always gotten it, okay? What's the other value proposition? When I read it and I understand it, I'm going to share it with you. I do the interpretation. and the explaining of what it means to you, or what the author is saying rather. Okay, so that's the other value proposition. So you're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars, decades of formal education that I spent in school, and you're getting that for free. Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, invested in my education, decades of formal education. And I'm using that investment in myself, that time spent to read, comprehend, and then explain to you exactly what the author is saying. I'm not giving you my opinion, what I think or what I feel. I'm giving you straight what the author is saying. A lot of times this author is very blunt and sarcastic, rude. But again, you know, this is 2022, not 1831, okay? Now, what's the second proposition, my value that I'm giving to you? We're discussing, I'm discussing it. So I read, comprehend, I interpret and explain, and then discuss, and I'm doing it the best that I can to make this as entertaining or interesting as I possibly can without being disrespectful of the information. Okay, so that's why you should be here. That's why you should keep coming. And there's no better, not even comparable quality of presentation of the Devil's Pulpit by Reverend Robert Taylor. There's no better one anywhere. Search YouTube. What you're getting right here is the best, the finest, the highest quality, the most complete presentation of this book. This is the foremost book on astrotheology. This is the absolute foremost book on astrotheology that there is. Okay, that's why you should come here, and that's why you should continue to come to these presentations. That's why you should start from presentation number 1 and go all the way to the end. Maybe there'll be, who knows how many there are going to be, but you should start from the beginning and to the end and go through them 3-4 times. So let's take a look now. We are on page 223. The last page of the book is 341. So the book is 341 pages, and we are on page 223. All right. All right. So here we go. Here we go. Let's do it. The Devil's Pulpit, the Cup of Salvation. This sermon was given by Reverend Robert Taylor on April 3rd, 1831. Now let's read, quote, "Who is that cometh from Edom? That cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength." All right, so this person was dressed nice, and he was a strong man, right? He had it going on. "I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine vat." Okay, y'all. So this is an important last 2 sentences that we read. Okay, so what can we expect? We can expect this chapter, this sermon, to be about what? Righteousness, the ability to save. There's going to be something about red, right? He keeps mentioning, or the red apparel, or the garments, correct? Everybody follow me? All right. The garments were red, as though somebody who was stepping on grapes. to make wine. All right, this is what we're going to deal with. Keep these things in mind, scholars. Let's continue. I have trodden the wine press alone. See, in other words, he's stepping on those grapes. What color is the blood of the grape? It's going to be red, right? A dark red. And of the people, there was none with me. So this person is treading the wine press by himself, nobody with him. For I will tread them in mine anger. So get a visual image of this. Let's say you or your father or your grandfather standing on a, let's say a big floor, okay? And it had some edges, right? Or let's say an empty swimming pool. It's full of grapes. And your father, your grandfather is stomping these grapes to squish them, to get the juice out. And he's very angry. That's the mental image, okay? That's the mental image to have in your mind. Let's continue. For I will tread them in mine anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. So y'all got that? So the author is giving us an image of, let's say, your grandfather who's so angry that he's stepping on the wine, the grapes, and he's not being careful to keep his clothes from getting stained by the grape juice, okay? He's just angry and going at it, right? And the grapes are splattering all over his garments so that they become red. All right, now we saw that there was an asterisk. So let's read the asterisk. Now the asterisk doesn't have any, well, no, let's continue this paragraph, which continues to the next page. And then we will come back. And so this is the asterisk here, y'all. So this is like a footnote. So we're going to continue reading from here and then go to the next page. All right. It says, for the day of, give me 1 second. Get the page ready for y'all. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Y'all got that? For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. All right. This is telling us that there's some vengeance that's going to be taken, and it's going to happen this year, right? This is the year, the day where I'm going to get revenge. Let's continue reading. And look, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none, lo, uphold. Therefore, my own arm brought salvation unto me. Who brought salvation? He said his own arm brought salvation. Nobody helped him. There was nobody there. So your grandfather looks around, there's nobody to help him. He saves himself. This is what the author is saying. That's the mental image, scholars. Let's continue. He continues. Therefore, mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury, it upheld me. Okay, so that's a righteous fury, a righteous anger. Upheld him, made him strong, led to his salvation. And I will tread down the people in mine anger. And I will tread down the people. This one man, let's say your grandfather, is going to tread down the people in his anger and make the people drunk in my fury. Drunk because he's talking about a wine, making wine, right? He's stepping on the grapes. And I will bring down their strength to the earth. Here is a reference to astronomy, right? He says he's going to bring them down to the earth. and I will bring their strength to the earth. Let me repeat that again. And I will bring down their strength to the earth. I will mention the loving kindness of the capital Lord and the praises of the capital Lord according to all that the capital Lord hath bestowed on us. So who is this us, right? Who is the us? Because before he's only talking about himself alone. Who's the us? And the great goodness toward the house of Israel. Who's the house of Israel? So what do we know? We know that this book has to do with astrotheology. Therefore, we can make an assumption that the author is going to assert that the house of Israel, the house of Isis, Ra, and El is celestial. We can assume that. So let's look out for it, right? Let's look out for it because this book is about astrotheology. All right, so let's continue. All right, I lost my, okay. So according to all that the capital Lord has bestowed on us and the great goodness toward the house of Isis, Ra, and El, or Israel, which he hath bestowed on them, according to his mercies and according to the multitude of his loving kindness. For he said, quote, surely they are my people, children that will not lie. Uh-oh, that's a problem. That's a problem because the house of Yasharallah did and does a whole lot of lying. So is Isaiah speaking about a people? Because we know the house of Yasharallah told a lot of lies and they did a lot of deceitful things in their actions. And they said a lot of deceitful things. Let's read it again. For he said, quote, surely they are my people, children that will not lie. So he was their savior, end quote, quoting from Isaiah. What verse is that, y'all? Hold on, let me check. I forgot this Roman numeral. What is L? 6. Give me 1 second, y'all. 6-3. Oh no, hold on. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Yeah, 63. Isaiah 63. I was right. That's amazing how memory works. You know what I mean? Things that you haven't seen in years or decades, but somehow or another is still there. All right, so that's the quotation from Isaiah 63, verses 1 through 8. Now let's go back to the footnote and read. See what the footnote means. Footnotes should never be skipped. You skip a footnote, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Footnotes should never be skipped. All right. So we're going to read here the highlighted part. So let's continue. The footnote reads, persecuted for blasphemy. This sermon was redelivered by the learned expounder of scripture allegory. So in other words, the sermon was given by someone who was expert on allegories in the Bible. On Sunday, on stories, fairy tales, this is what the author means, on fairy tales in the Bible. On Sunday evening, last June 5th, it was delivered to a crowded and highly gratified congregation. A lot of people was there and they loved it. Garbled extracts of the preceding discourse. All right, so he's going to tell you some excerpts from that sermon on Good Friday, number 14, from the first three counts of the indictment. The fourth, fifth, and sixth are multi-lated sentences in like manner tacked together with the tautological farrago of the law. From the present sermon, this, excuse me, this medley of priestly patchwork, this medley of priestly patchwork was served on the Reverend Gentleman on the 11th of April, following from the Surrey sessions. Okay, it appears that the author is saying that the Reverend Robert Taylor was served, he was given service. I'm going to make some guess as to what's being talking about. This has to do with the sermon that caused the Reverend Robert Taylor to be brought to court and then later convicted and put in prison for telling these fairy tales, as he calls them, the Gospels. So let's continue. The medley of priestly patchwork was served on the Reverend Gentleman on the 11th of April, following from the Surrey sessions. The trial is fixed for the 14th of July. In other words, the trial was scheduled for the 14th of July. Okay, that's the upcoming 4th of July. The result is not feared. In other words, he's not afraid of what's going to happen in the trial. Free inquiry and free discussion, misnamed blasphemy, having ceased to terrify any but wrongdoers. In other words, if you didn't do any wrong, you wouldn't be scared. And tithe eaters. That means wrongdoers and stealers, people who steal the tithe. His congregation claimed for their instructor that which he has invariably offered to his adversaries. In other words, the Reverend Robert Taylor's congregation claims, so let me read it again. His congregation claimed for their instructor. It appears that the Reverend Robert Taylor is the instructor, okay, which he has offered, invariably offered to his adversaries. Quote, a fair stage without favor. So in other words, the Reverend Robert Taylor's congregation was saying, hey, give Robert Taylor a fair trial. Give him a fair trial. That's what that's saying. Let this be granted on his trial, and they feel assured that the verdict of an unpacked jury, they're feeling certain that the jury, if it's not biased, if it's not a rigged jury, they're going to see that the Reverend Robert Taylor did nothing wrong and let him go. That's what he's saying. All right, so let's continue. Let this be granted on his trial, and they feel assured that the verdict of an unpacked jury, having the common inlets of understanding and capacity enough to distinguish metaphor from simple fact, will be in accordance with their wishes. Okay, so this was something that looks like was cited from maybe a newspaper called The Reporter. All right, so this chapter culminated, or maybe was a culmination of a whole bunch of stuff. Then this presentation, this sermon was given, and that's when the secret society members, the dark priesthood, those rebels had enough, and they served him and took him to court to try to have the author of this book put in prison for revealing the secret society secrets that the Christ figure never lived. The Gospels are a fairy tale. Well, he's saying the whole Bible is a fairy tale, but his focus is on the Gospels and the Christ figure. Specifically, he says that the Gospels are pure astrotheology. All right. Let's continue to page 224. Let me check the chat real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm alone, so I'm juggling. Give me 1 second. Let me see if there are any comments. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'll be right back with y'all. Let me just check to see if there are any comments. Make sure y'all like and share the video, please. Put something in the chat. All right, put something in the chat. Like and share the video. Don't have me working for nothing. Like and share the video, please. All right, let's continue. Page 224 reads, and there ends the substantive matter on this whole holy text. Quote, so he was their savior. Very well, gentlemen, very well. I would not lie. Only they must be a very extraordinary sort of children. Okay, so y'all remember what he's talking about. Let's go back up to that sentence. Let me highlight it so we can. So the author is talking about here. Okay, he's referencing here, which reads, for he said, quote, surely they are my people, children that will not lie. So he was their savior, end quote. That's Isaiah 63, verse 1 through 8. Now let's continue reading. And there ends the substantive matter on this whole holy text. Quote, so he was their savior, end quote. Very well, gentlemen, very well. I suppose he was their savior, the savior of the, quote, children that would not lie. Only they must be a very extraordinary sort of children that would not lie. For all children we have ever known have been devilishly given to lying, especially the 40 and 50-year-old children, especially the 40 and 50-year-old children, the babes and sucklings of the Gospels, and the, quote, any old clothes, quote, children with their nasty clotted beards as thick as the wigs in a birch broom, whom they call, quote, the children of Isis, Ra, and El, that is Israel. So the author is saying that these Christians who are living the Gospels, believing the Gospels, are adult, middle-aged children. And they wear nasty beards that look like brooms. By the way, y'all, make sure y'all watch the video on Zion Law School YouTube channel. Something like, do Israelites have to wear beards or something like that? Y'all make sure y'all watch that. You need to know that information. Let's continue. And the droll way of saving the children, it must be to tread upon them, to trample them, and make them drunk, and bring down their strength to the earth, and to be in the devil's own rage and fury with them, to squeeze their insides out, and to strain all his garments with their blood. O capital L-O-R-D, O capital L-O-R-D, O capital L-O-R-D. The author is saying, what a thing to say. You're describing the fury and anger that you have against your children in the context of violently stepping on and squishing grapes so that the blood would splatter all over your garments. And that's what you're going to do to your children. This is the author's point. That's what he's saying. Not Dr. Yasapa. This is what the author is saying. He continues, what a strange sort of salvation to squash them like grapes, right? To be in a rage and squash your children like someone stepping on grapes angrily. What a strange sort of salvation. This is to be the blessed effect of divine revelation. Now go away, Christian, decamp, retire to the other shop, for here is not your rest. Here, we're going to look at what Christians never dare to inquire after. Here, we're going to look at what Christians never dared to think about, never dared to ask questions about, which is what? Which is the meaning of all of this: smashing the wine grapes, smashing the children like they're grapes, right? In the wine press. Let's continue. Here we're going to commit to unpardonable sin against the Holy Ghost, the sin of being rational. Oh, there he goes again. The sin of being rational. He's being sarcastic, calling Christians middle-aged children. Middle-aged children who believe anything. In other words, he's saying there are stakes on the table. Stakes on the table, objects and slaves for anybody who wants to take advantage of them and put them to work to get some profit or benefit out of. Stakes on the table. Here we are going to repeat the crime that damned the whole human race. Y'all hear that? The author is saying we're going to repeat the crime. So what is this crime that damned the whole human race? Now, human race as distinguished from mankind. Who knows what human means and its implications in law? Think about that. Let's continue. We are going to pluck off the forbidden fruit of knowledge that grows under this leafy wilderness of words. Well, may your priests and preachers of the gospel warn you, for your soul's sake and for the sake of your deity, that for their sakes, to keep away from the rotunda. Wow, the author is saying that your religious leaders need to stay. The rotunda is the place where the author gave all of these sermons. So the author is saying, tell your Moshe, Moreh, rabbi, pastor, imam, priest, all of these, your teacher, your scribe, all of these religiously titled people, teachers, don't come to the place where astrotheology is being taught, because they're going to be exposed as fairy tales. And then those religious leaders will no longer be able to eat off of you. They don't want to hear nothing to do with astrotheology, because it will be the ruin of their lifestyle and their business or profession. This is what the author is telling us, okay, y'all? That's what the author is saying. All right, so let us continue. Oops, sorry about that, y'all. Let's continue. So I was telling y'all that the author can be sarcastic and crude, but it's also funny. It's also funny. Let's continue. Well, have they sought to hold me up to public excretion by fastening on me the opprobrious of the devil's chaplain? So here y'all see, now he's telling you the title of the book, okay? He's telling you why he named the book the devil's pulpit. It's because these people hauled him off into court and branded him as the devil's chaplain, the devil's pastor, preacher, because he exposed the gospels, etc., as being fairy tales, nothing more than astrotheology. All right, now y'all see it for yourself again. Since like the devil, I, that is Robert Taylor, am playing the devil with their craft. What craft? Theology, religion, and do attempt you to take, pluck, and eat off the forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge. Quote, for the deity, capital G-O-D, doeth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then shall your eyes be opened, end quote. And it shall not be in the power of those reverend impostors to insult you with their gospel, and to tread and trample on you as they have done any longer. Now, how has the author presented astrotheology up until this point? Using philology, linguistics, etymology, history. Is it clear? The knowledge or the fruit of the tree of knowledge comes from understanding grammar, etymology, linguistics, parts of speech. Is that clear, y'all? Context. Context in which a word appears, in which a verse is written. Context is also important. All right? So you see, the key to you being liberated, the key to you returning to the Most High involves you becoming competent. Becoming competent through first step, increase your reading comprehension. How is that done? Learning linguistics, etymology, grammar, everything we just said. So go now, subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath on zionlawschool.org. This is one of the primary keys to your return to the Most High. Reclaim your heritage, your language. 101 Ancient Ibaryath on zionlawschool.org. This is, according to the author, the fruit of the tree of knowledge. All right, let's continue. And y'all have seen, y'all who have been here from the beginning, y'all see how linguistics completely unlocked the Gospels, right? It completely unlocked it, specifically etymology, okay? Specifically etymology. Let's continue. And y'all can do the same, scholars in the audience. All you need to do is learn, and then you can do the same. So first step, subscribe to 101 Ancient Ibaryath, continue in that streaming course, gain mastery. Second step, come see us Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is free, your first two classes. It's free, you don't have to pay anything, and you're going to learn much, much more than you're learning in these presentations that we're doing here. This is nothing compared to what we do on Saturday. All right, now let's continue. Page 225, next paragraph. I announced in a preceding discourse, that's another sermon that he gave before, that I would in due sequence, in other words, in due time, serve you up, quote, the cup of salvation, end quote, out of which, if you thirst after knowledge, you shall drink the very nectar of the lowercase gods, so rich a draught of genuine science and of real learning, as but once to have drank thereof shall destroy in you forever all relish for the beggarly small beer of the gospel shop. In other words, the author is saying he's about to hit you with some knowledge. He's about to hit you with some knowledge that's going to destroy, that's going to absolutely destroy the brainwashing and the doctrine that you've been introduced to that caused you to believe that the Gospels are, that they ever happened in history. In other words, he's going to show you, but beyond any doubt, that these are fairy tales, okay? And his methodology, the science that he uses, is going to be so powerful that it's going to convince you, persuade you so thoroughly that you'll never want to hear anything about the Gospels again. This is what the author is saying. Let's continue. Observe ye first the position of this table of the capital Lord and its mystical furniture, the bread of life and the cup of salvation as placed upon this table. So I guess he's talking about the Last Supper, the position of the table, the mystical furniture, the bread of life, and the cup of salvation. Observe where they are placed on the table. Let's continue. You are to suppose this table situate exactly in the east, confronting or directly opposite to the west. It is not so, but your imaginations must help our science. Okay, now let's continue. All our churches and let me repeat, let me go back to this. Y'all keep this in mind because the author is going to revisit this. He's going to revisit this, so keep this in mind. You are supposed this table situate exactly in the east. So the table is exactly in the east, confronting or directly opposite to the west, right? East is opposite to west. That's all he's saying. It is not so. So the author is saying it is not so. That's not the case, but your imagination must help our science. So let's continue. Let's see when this east-west thing comes back up. Keep that in mind. Next paragraph. All our churches and chapels to this day are built as all the pagan pagodas and temples of the sun, S-U-N. Though through unrecorded ages were as, let me, hold on, y'all. I need to change, the sun is in my eye, hold on. I need to switch my position because I can't see my page. Hold on. It's too bright. Give me 1 second, man. Give me 1 second, y'all. I got to reposition so I can see the page. Hold on. All right, let me get back to it. Man, oh man, oh man. Okay, so here we go. Sorry about that. Here we go. All our churches and chapels to this day are built as all the pagan pagodas and temples of the sun, S-U-N, through unrecorded ages were, so as to have their altars in the east. All right, there's the connection. The pagans had their altars to the east. That's the connection. Let's continue. All right, let's continue. And all the light allowed to fall on that mystic table was such alone as could gleam through that window in the east, darkened, obscured, and shaded as much as conveniently might be by the cultivated growth of ivy, trained to grow on the church wall and to spread its dark foliage as a leafy umbrella over that sacred window. The ivy, before the invention of glass, served to keep off the showers. In other words, the ivy served to prevent the rain from coming into the building, or to prevent too much light from shining on the mysteries of that dark table. In other words, that ivy served to keep the table dark, right? Why? Because there was some mysterious stuff on the table. What mysterious stuff? I'll go back and read that one paragraph again, right? It said, observe the positions of this table of the capital L-O-R-D and its mystical furniture. What's on the table? All right, mystical furniture, bread of life, and the cup of salvation as placed upon this table. Now let's go back to the paragraph where we left off. It says here, we're going to start with the ivy. The ivy, before the invention of glass, served to keep off the rain, the showers, or to prevent too much light from shining on the mysteries that were on that table, right? We just read that. There being nothing that the priest, whether pagan or Christian, Catholic or Protestant, were ever so much afraid of as letting in too much light upon their sacraments. Okay, so all right, let's continue next paragraph. But the ivy serves. All right, so what about this ivory? It's got to be something else to it. Let's continue. Why is ivy trained to this day to grow in Christian churchyards and to spread? Let me see if y'all can hold on. So we're over here, y'all. All right, somewhere over here. Oh, no, here we are. We're here, this paragraph. All right. So let me continue reading. Give me 1 second. Let me position the page. All right, so let me continue. So why is ivy trained to this day to grow in Christian churchyards and to spread its leaves over the eastern window? Right? So all right, so why? That's a very good question. Why? All right. And spread, why is ivy trained to this day to grow in Christian churchyards and to spread its leaves over the eastern window immediately over the sacred table and sacred, quote, cup of salvation, end quote, standing on that sacred table, end quote, the order for the administration of the Holy Communion, end quote. But because, in other words, the answer is ivy was the peculiar emblem of the jolly, capital G-O-D. I'm not going to speak the deity's name. I'm going to spell it, okay? Ivy was the emblem of the deity whose name is spelled capital B-A-C-C-H-U-S, who is always represented as crowned with a garland of ivy leaves. And the deity whose name is spelled B-A-C-C-H-U-S and J.C. the Christ figure were never more different from each other than 6 1/2 dozen. The author is saying right here that the deity spelled B-A-C-C-H-U-S and J.C. the Christ figure are one and the same deity. All right, so let's continue. So, and these two deities were never more different from each other than 6 1/2 dozen. That's the same, right? Or than different versions of the same substantive allegory. In other words, same story, only the deity has a different name. JC being indisputably one of the names of the deity whose name is spelled B-A-C-C-H-U-S. Next page. I hope y'all are enjoying this and learning. All right, let's continue. We are on page 226. As Mr. Pope in his epistle of Sappho to Phon, P-H-A-O-N, has rendered those beautiful lines of Ovid, quote, well, I'm not going to read, this appears to be Latin or maybe Greek, I don't know. I'm going to read it in the English, okay? The harp and the bow, would you like Phoebus wear? A brighter Phobos fawn might appear. Would you with ivy wreath your flowing hair? Not the deity B-A-C-C-H-U-S, self with fawn would compare. Okay, so now this person is said to what? Wrap his hair with ivy, just like Bacchus, right? Not, oh, I said the deity's name. All right, so That deity wears a crown of ivy. That's the point the author is making by sharing this text here. Let's continue reading. But in towns and cities where ivy is not so conveniently to be raised, you see the same effect aimed at but stained glass. All right, so now we see the purpose of churches having stained glass. I never knew that, and I always wondered why. But now we see the ivy didn't grow well there. So they used stained glass to darken the room, to keep the light out. All right, let's read the footnote. See the Methodist Chapel in Queen Street, which is hideously tenebrous. That's what the footnote read, the asterisk there. All right, so let me read that again. But in towns and cities where ivy is not so conveniently to be raised, you see the same effect aimed at by stained glass or painted windows, exhibiting allegorical representations of the same deity whose name is spelled B-A-C-C-H-U-S, that is, of the sun, S-U-N, as he appears in the visible heavens, the day after Michaelmas Day, that is, immediately after he has crossed over or been crucified. By crossing over the line of the celestial equator at the point of the autumn equinox, September 22nd. Go back and watch the last few presentations in this astrotheology series, and you'll learn all about that. All right, so we're talking about the autumn equinox, which is the last day of September. That's St. Michael's Day, or Michaelmas Day, right? All right, the last day of the process of winemaking, or the annual vintage, as was at the time of the adoption of this allegory to the phenomena of nature, the last day of the sun's S-U-N position in the scales of justice, that is Libra, or righteousness. Y'all got that? Y'all got that? So this all has to do with the astronomical position of the sun being in its last day inside of the constellation called Libra. The scales, the balanced scales, justice, righteousness. This is also the day of what? The day that you would start making your wine on earth. Let's read this again. Let me go back up. We're going to start with of the sun, okay? That is, of the sun, as the sun appears in the invisible heavens, the day after Michaelmas Day, that is, the day immediately after he, that is the sun, crossed over, which is called being crucified, the day the sun crossed over or had been crucified, the day the sun crossed over the line of the celestial equator at the point of the autumn equinox, which is the last day of September, the last day of the process of winemaking. Y'all got that? The last day of the process of winemaking, or the annual vintage, and was at the time of the adaptation of this allegory to the phenomena of nature. Let me read that again. At the time of the adaptation of this allegory to the phenomena of nature, what the author is saying here, this phenomena of nature, the last day that you would press your wine, right? The last day of that season, that's always been. But the story of the gospel, particularly this verse at Isaiah chapter 63, verse 1 through 8, that's new. And they matched it or associated it with the last day that people made wine on earth. This is what the author means by adaptation. All right. That's what the author means by adaptation. And was at that time the adaptation of this allegory to the phenomena of nature, the last day of the sun's position in the scales of justice or righteousness. Is it clear, scholars? Is that clear? Let me check the chat for 1 second. Please like and share the video. Let your friends know, friends and family know that we are here live doing this presentation. Gary Tucker writes, I am unable to be an active participant during the afternoon bills. However, I can listen in. Okay, excellent. Gary, thanks for giving us that update. And I appreciate everybody who's here. I appreciate it, especially those people who care enough, active enough to give me an update. Much appreciated. So y'all please like and share the video. Like and share the video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. For those of you who may not understand or appreciate what the author is building up to, the title of this chapter or the title of this sermon is called The Cup of Salvation. The Cup of Salvation. I see the author building a case that the cup of salvation, the importance thereof in Christianity, is the precious blood of the Christ and its function in Christianity, right? Which is to give salvation. Okay, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Which is to give salvation. Mic check, mic check. Y'all see the the good part was cut off. All right, but that's okay. We're gonna do it again. We are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. Not going to let lightweight type of stuff stop us. We are unstoppable. Mic check, mic check. 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 Okay, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Y'all see the good part was cut off. That's okay. Okay, so let's continue. So what I was saying is, if those of you, if there are anybody who's watching, scholars in the audience, this is a very, very important chapter, because the author is making his case that the most important part of Christianity never happened, that there was no blood in the cup, right? There was no blood in the cup. What was in the cup? Wine was in the cup. How do I know this? Because I can see it coming, because the author has mentioned the deity whose name is spelled Bacchus. And this deity also wore a crown of ivy. Everybody see that? So Christianity cannot exist if the Christ figure did not give his blood, right? Because then there's no new covenant. There's no new covenant if the Christ figure's blood was not given. This is what I think the author is leading up to. But anyway, let's continue. All right, so now the author has related the Last Supper, the cup of salvation, to astrotheology or astronomy, right? That's what we just read in the last paragraph. But y'all, scholars in the audience, make your own decision whether to accept or reject the author's claims here. So let's continue. Let's continue. Whether you accept it or whether you reject it, that's personal. But what we have to admit is that there is a correlation, and it's fun. It's fun learning this, right? It is fun learning this. All right, now let's continue. Let us continue. Next paragraph reads, so that he is represented as, quote, Christ taken down from the cross, end quote. Now, y'all remember from previous presentations, the cross, the sun crossing the celestial equator, the crucifixion, so that he is represented as, quote, Christ taken down from the cross, end quote, a dead man with all the blood drawn out of him, that precious blood which he shed for us men and for our salvation when he came down from heaven. And where is his blood? Why, where should it be? But in the, quote, cup of salvation, end quote, standing upon that sacramental table, just as it was drawn out of the, and I'll quote the deity, I'll spell the deity's name, Bacchun, okay, barrel, right? In other words, there was a barrel of wine, and that wine is for the deity whose name is spelled Bacchus, on which the ivy-crowned deity whose name is spelled Bacchus sits with his ivy crown like a drunken boy at the good ventor's shop, at the wine shop, right? And as I feel a little bit bloodthirsty, just as this moment, and as a Catholic clergy very sensibly held that there was no occasion to give up the cup to the laity, I shall, with your permission, keep the cup to myself, hoping that your faith will be satisfied by seeing me drink it as your representative. And now we see drinks, quote, and now, end quote, in the sublime poetry of Watts' hymns as sung in 100 chapels and churches, in this infinitely be-chapeled and be-churched metropolis, that city, quote, And now I drink my Savior's blood. I thank thee, capital Lord, 'tis generous wine. Mingled with love, the fountain flowed from that dear bleeding heart of thine. Hymn number 18. All right, let's go to the next page. This soul reviving wine, dear Savior, 'tis thy blood. We thank that precious flesh of thine for this immortal food. Book 3, hymn 17. Or, as I have read those lines of Dr. Watts plagiarized and but little altered in the composition of quite as good a poet as Dr. Watts. This is coming from the Reverend Dr. Towser, a famous hand at Darrell-El, whatever that is, y'all. Quote, "'Tis the same blood in wine or swines. 'Tis capital God's own blood we vow. And when we feel it in our trips or tripes, we feel we don't know how," end quote. And the asterisk reads in the indictment. So, okay, so that's in the indictment. Next paragraph. Nothing can be more sublime than this language. Only the awkwardness of it is when they who use this sort of language as that of the most fervent piety in their mouths would represent it as blasphemy in ours. So the author is saying they're hypocrites because you see their own religious people are calling the blood wine. But the author is saying that when he said it was wine, they served him up with an indictment to take him to court for blasphemy. Y'all see the hypocrisy here. Let's continue. The author is saying that their own religious leaders called the Christ blood wine. Now, if they're calling it wine, then they're indirectly or maybe even directly associating it with the deity of wine who wears the ivory crown, whose name is spelled Bacchus. Follow the logic. All right. And would punish us for only quoting and repeating their own ipsis imma verbia. Okay, I guess I don't know what that Latin means, but he's saying you're a hypocrite for punishing the author for making the same quotes that you made. The blood is wine. You big hypocrites. All right. He goes on to say their very own words, or he quoted them verbatim, right? He quoted them verbatim, and we just read it, right? We just read these quotes. And now I drink my Savior's blood. I thank thee, capital Lord. It's generous wine. That's quoted from the bottom of page 226, top of page 227. This soul reviving wine, dear Savior, 'tis thy blood. Again, the blood is wine. All right. The next quote, 'tis same blood in wine our swipes. Again, the blood is wine. But when the author exposed it, they indicted him, took him to court, and labeled him, branded him the devil's chaplain. This is what the author is saying, calling them hypocrites. Hypocrites, because they have in writing the same things that the author was quoting. That's where he got it from. Let's continue. All right. What says their own Saint Cyprian, Bishop of Carthage, the pride and glory of their Christian church in the 3rd century, whose language is held to be none other than that of orthodoxy itself? All right, well, let's see what Saint Cyprian says. Cruci Hermes sanguinem, I don't know that. This is Latin. Let's go to the English. Quote, we stick to the cross, we suck the blood, and we loll our tongues in the very wounds of our Redeemer. All right, let's continue. There can be no doubt at all that this is figurative language. Only one cannot help sympathizing with the liability of its being misunderstood. When preached by our missionaries to convert the blubber-lipped and copper-colored souls of our brothers and sisters in the Pacific Ocean, such as, quote, Hokey Pokey, Wanky Foom, and the king of the cannibal islands. So who are these copper-colored people that he's talking about? Clearly, it sounds like us, doesn't it? He says blubber-lipped, that would be what? Big lip, right? It appears to be big lip. When preached by our missionaries to convert the big-lipped and copper-colored souls of our brothers and sisters in the Pacific Ocean. In other words, these people would be branded or classified as Black people today, right? Y'all see that? Y'all see that? All right. This is the people in the Pacific Ocean, the people in the Pacific Ocean. Next paragraph. Especially when 'tis taken into account that the missionaries themselves could no longer explain the meaning of those figures of speech to the cannibals. Then the cannibals could to them. All right, so here the author is saying that our brothers in the Pacific Ocean were cannibals. All right, now remember, they're preaching Christianity. They're trying to convert cannibals to Christianity. But let's read the quote again in question. The quote is this: we stick to the cross. We stick to the cross. We suck the blood, and we lull our tongues in the very wounds of our Redeemer. Now, remember, the audience here being preached to are cannibals. Are cannibals. So might they mistake Christianity as being a cannibalistic religion? I think this is the author's point. But let's continue reading. Last paragraph. For but ask them, sirs, nay, ask any of your preachers of the gospel that live and die in the fat of idleness here at home. Wherefore should it be that the capital God should forgive our sins because of Christ's blood? That's a question. 6th article of the indictment. What squilor, what connection, what relevancy of the thing to do with the other? In other words, what does this blood have to do with salvation? Let me read it again. Wherefore should it be that the capital God should forgive us our sins because of Christ's blood? Right. So what's the relevancy, or what does blood have to do with the forgiving of sins? This is what the author is writing. Let's go to the next page. Let's continue to the next page. All right. How long have we been going? Wow, we've been going for a long time. All right. So now let's continue. I'm curious. I want to know. Page 228. Is it that we killed his only son, the greatest of all conceivable sins, and for that he is so pleased with us that it was the best thing that ever was done in the world? And for that sin's sake, he not only forgave us that sin, but all the other sins that we could possibly commit? Can your clergy answer this? That's a good question. So let me read that again. Is it that we killed his only son, S-O-N, the greatest of all conceivable sins, right? What could you do worse than to kill the Most High's only begotten son, S-O-N? That's the greatest sin. That's what the author is saying. And for that sin, that is for killing his only son, S-O-N, the Most High, or the deity, is so pleased with us because we killed his son, that it was the best thing that was ever done in the world. And for that sin, And for that sin's sake, in other words, because they killed the son of the deity, S-O-N, he not only, that is the deity not only forgives us of the sin of killing his son, but he also forgives us for all the other sins that we possibly could have ever committed in our whole lives. This is a question, right? The author is saying, can your pastor, rabbi, imam, Moshe Moreh answer this question? Next sentence. They cannot. They never could. I can, and I will. What reason can your clergy give? 6th article of the indictment. So remember, what reason can your clergy give? None, absolutely none. And in their fault, I offer you a reason for which I ask no other favor. In other words, you ain't got to pay for it. I offer you a reason for which I ask no other favor from you as rational men than that you should withhold your conviction as long as you can do so, even as long as you can. So in other words, the author is saying, I'm going to answer the question for you. Just promise me that you won't come to a conclusion without hearing everything he has to say. All right, next sentence. I ask no man's consent from his favor. I will make it mine by right of conquest. In other words, the author is saying, hear his presentation of the evidence before you make a decision. Don't agree with him because you like him. Don't agree with him because you don't know what else to do. The author is saying he's going to present such a strong case that it is going to persuade you by science. That's what he means by conquest. I will make it mine by right of conquest. I will make your agreeing with me, the author, my right, because of the powerful, undeniable evidence that I'm presenting to you. This is what the author is saying. Let's go to the next paragraph. It reads, quote, the reason why the blood of Christ does not induce capital God to forgive us our sins is that he likes a drop of the crater as well as we do. That means the deity likes to drink wine just like we do. The wine puts him into a good humor, and then he is not so particular about us. In other words, the deity likes to drink wine, and after he gets a little bit of wine, he feels all right. He don't care what you're doing. Now, we read a few paragraphs ago that the deity whose name is spelled B-A-C-C-H-U-S likes to drink. We also read that JC, the Christ figure, and the deity whose name is spelled B-A-C-C-H-U-S are one and the same deity. All right, y'all got that? Next paragraph. And see, sirs, I call heaven and earth to witness the starry seat of the capital God, most high in the visible heaven, the typical cup of salvation on earth, and the mystic enigma of sacred theology, enucleated by demonstrations of irrefragable science, that this is the true, the only reason. All right, so y'all see the author is saying that he's using science. And what science? He says it is astronomy. Next paragraph. Look up, sirs, upon the vaulty bosom of the night, or upon this beautiful toy, the pictured representation of what is there to be seen. And there is that crater, which the capital L-O-R-D loveth. And here is that crater, which the capital G-O-D loveth, pictured on this globe. And here is that crater, upon this ideoronic table, which I think capital God is no picture at all, and which I love as well as he. It appears to be that there's a cup of salvation on earth, in the heavens, and also on the table that we talked about at the opening of the chapter. Next paragraph. The crater is not an Irish, but a Latin word. Crater is not an Irish, but a Latin word, signifying the bowl or cup of salvation. It was always represented in delineations of the starry heavens. The cup of salvation was always represented in delineations of the starry heaven as a cup having two handles. A sufficient hint, as I hope it may prove, to my Christian persecutors, that in seeking to throw me a second time into prison for blasphemy, they have taken hold of the crater by the wrong handle. Wow, they sought to put him in prison twice. So the author is saying that this cup of salvation has always been represented in astronomy as a cup having two handles. Next paragraph. Observe now the position of this crater, that is this cup of salvation with two handles, in the heavenly city, and see if the capital Lord does not love a drop of the crater. That's a drop of the wine in the cup, right? As well as we. It is at or near the gate or going out of the celestial Zion. The cup is at or near the gate or the going out. That means the cup is near the exit gate of the celestial Zion, always near and a little below the point of the autumn equinox. The cup of salvation is always near or a little below the autumn equinox, and coming before it in order to be ready to catch the precious fruit of the vintage. Last day of pressing wine was the last day of September. The location of the crater, that is the two-handled cup of salvation, is near or at the gate, the exit gate of the celestial Zion. That cup is always near and a little below the point of the autumn equinox. And coming before it, coming before the autumn equinox, why? In order to be ready to catch the precious fruit, in other words, the precious wine of that vintage. There is your cup of salvation according to astronomy. This is the astrotheological explanation of the cup of salvation in the Last Supper. And hence it is because of the good drink in that cup, always situated so near the gate of that heavenly city, that of the capital Lord, who loves a drop of the wine in the crater, in the cup of salvation that has two handles, as well as we love it so much, we people on earth. It is said in the allegorical conundrum of the 87th Psalm, quote, the capital Lord loves the gate of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Why? Because according to the author, the deity loves to drink wine. All right, that is more than all the other signs of the zodiac, which are the mansions of the sun, S-U-N, the dwellings of Jack, J-A-C-K, and then O-B. So now we are seeing again etymology, right? That is of capital G-O-D, the Father, of whom says the Christ of the gospel, quote, in my Father's house are many mansions. All right. N-J-A-C-K-O-B, house, there are many zodiac signs. And by essential mitomai of language, quote, mitomai doeth new names impose, and things for things by near relation shows. Now that's the first poem I liked that he cited and that I understand. All right, so in other words, you can use etymology to find the relationships between one thing and the other, whether there is a relationship, what the nature of that relationship is, or if there's no relationship at all, and maybe that word was injected or there's nothing there to be discovered. Next paragraph. To love the gate could never mean anything else. What gate? That's the exit gate of Zion. To love the exit gate of Zion could never mean anything else than to love the good entertainment that you get at that gate, right? You get to drink that wine. It's entertaining. You have fun. And to love the crater, the two-handled cup that has wine in it, and to love the crater could never mean anything else than to love the good stuff that was in the crater. That's the wine. For I believe we should all of us be innocent enough of the excessive attachment to the cup. If the cup was an empty cup of good stuff, as Christian persecutors for blasphemy are of good feelings, quote, and why? Says the psalmist in the 75th Psalm, quote, capital G-O-D is the judge. He putteth down one and he setteth up another. For in the hand of the capital D, L-O-R-D is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full, mixed, and he poureth out of the same, end quote. And like him, I pour out the red wine. I pledge him from the bottom of my heart. And if he be a just judge, just as is the sun, when in the scales of September, that's Libra, he gives an equal length of day to all inhabitants of the earth. The devil of any quarrel will he have with me. I never offended him in thought, word, or deed by telling the truth. This is what the author means, that they also told. But they told it secretly. But the author told it to the masses. And he was punished by being indicted twice. But what will be say to a gang of caballing priests who, when they could never give a rational interpretation of their own bladderdash themselves, are for calling in the strong arm of the law to crush and destroy him who can do so? A better scholar and a more honest man than their holy church throughout all the world could ever boast of. Y'all see what the author said? He's calling them hypocrites. There's no justice in them, right? Because they chose to bring him to court and indict him twice for telling what is the truth according to the author. Wow. So this is good stuff, y'all. Let me check the chat, see what's happening, if there's any comment in the chat. Like and share the video, please. Like, share, subscribe if you have not already subscribed. All right. All right, so let's continue. Let's continue. I got to give my voice a break, y'all. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I hope y'all are learning and enjoying from this presentation. Even though there's very little astrotheology in here, there's actually a lot in here. There's actually a lot. All right. I think what the author is attempting to do is to show that the Christian doctrine itself is bogus. Even although it's an allegorical story, it's bogus, even still. In other words, there's no logic in it. Their lies are not good. They didn't cover up their lies well enough. I think that's what he's trying to show, but maybe I'm wrong. What do y'all think? Put it in the chat. All right, so here we are. I want to remind everybody, go subscribe right now, 101 Ancient Ibaryath. This is where you're going to learn the tools of language, not just any language, but your language, Ibaryath. All right, and as a reminder, don't forget that language is used to enslave us. Language was used to create religion and to capture your imagination and make you into a fool. Make you into a fool, a religious person, no matter what religion it is. So you must learn the laws governing language. More important than that, you must return to the Most High. Learn Ibaryath, it's yours. And the last thing I have to say is, no, there's two more things, but real quick, make sure you order 911 Ibaryath Rescue. All right, make sure you order 911 Ibaryath Rescue, and it's on sale, $15 off, right? Help us get the word out. Help us through your finance by purchasing our books, our literature, by subscribing to 101 Ancient Ibaryath. It helps us do the work. All of this stuff takes time and money. All right, and I can do better and more if I'm properly financed. All right. Second point is every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you are invited to come. This is a free course. All right, you get two courses, you get two classes free, rather. It's not a free course. You get two classes free, but what you're going to learn in those two free classes is tremendous. All right, so that's a gift to you. Don't sit on the fence, okay? Don't willfully be in a state of incompetence. All right, so that's all I have to say, y'all. My voice is tired. So I want to say thank you to everyone who showed up for your support. I appreciate your support very much. Not just being here, but the support and the comments. That's very, very important. Your financial support, either through subscribing to 101 Ancient Ibaryath or ordering one of our many books. Now remember, this book y'all can order on Amazon, the international version of 911 Ibaryath Rescue. But the rest of the books, the 7 books that are listed here in our recommended book list here, order these on zionlawschool.org. All right. You can also support us by coming to the 2 free classes every Saturday at 10 a.m. Because even if you don't enroll, you still get to learn. And our mission is to educate, give you the information you need to return to the Most High. All right. You're going to learn a lot. And for a lot of people, it is life-changing in a positive way, transformational when you come to the class on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that said, I am going to sign out. So thanks again, y'all, for spending your afternoon with me and choosing to be with me to present astrotheology, like and share the video, discuss this with your family, your loved ones and friends, get them educated, get the link to the video to them, okay, y'all? Let's return to the Most High. We have to do it as a people for the nation to get out of the curses, and I'm tired of the curses. Shalom. See y'all tomorrow.